Welcome to Let's Curate's webcast series. We're so thrilled to be presenting an amazing lineup of creators at this year's Art Expo exhibition in New York. One of the most sought after international events in the art world, this one attracts over 200 galleries, artists, and publishers, showcasing exciting artwork, ceramics, sculptures, and much more. Today, I'm speaking to Jesse Aridoux, an American artist specializing in surrealism, abstract, and figurative art. We will be sharing links to his work for Art Expo, and these would also be available on our website. Hi, good morning, Jesse, and thank you for joining us.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for coordinating all this. It's great.
Absolutely. We're so thrilled to be presenting a new artist like you. You know, it's been a while. For Art Expo 2022, we did not have anyone from the US, so it's a first for us, and we're really thrilled to have you on board as our partner, and I cannot wait to talk about the work that you've done.
Yeah, that sounds good. This is the first time I'm going to be doing this, so I'm looking forward to it. I'm very excited about it.
Likewise. So I know a little bit about your background. I know you grew up in Haiti and you've lived there for the first 16 years of your life. It's a very formative stage of anyone's life.
Yeah.
Is there something from, that phase that has influenced your work? How impactful was your childhood and growing up in Haiti?
I mean, it was interesting, and to this day, it's something I look back on, and I'm like, I don't know if you know the state of the country right now. There's a lot going on politically. It's pretty bad, but it's something I'm like, and it probably surprises people when I say that I would probably, if I had the chance, if I could do it again, I'd probably do it again in the same place, without all the violence, all the politically charged situations. But I would probably do it again because it's something, like you mentioned before, that forms me as a person right now, the person I am right now, and my experiences, what I lived there, like, has impacted me through life up to this point. And I keep something I go back often on. I'll sit down and think about it. But when it comes to the creative part of it, it's something like I grew up loving art, like creative, just anything creative up till this day. Like I'll do everything I do in my life, like I approach it creatively, right? And that's something that in Haiti that people do a lot on a day-to-day basis, right? If you're talking about people not having much and having to do things, on the go and on a daily basis, trying to survive to do things, it's the way to approach life altogether. And besides that, people there are very creative. And if you were to look online, like it would be uncommon to see images of like walls covered with like paintings of people just like sitting outside selling paintings, like painting stuff. Our buses are covered with images, paintings, like everywhere it's art. And I grew up, I came from a part of Haiti that's like very concentrated when it comes to art. Like everyone there, like loves it. They either practice this in some way or another, right? And that to me I carry to this day, and it's something that influences my work a lot, and I love it.
It's interesting you say this because I've traveled across Colombia, multiple parts of India, Asia, and art is such a release. I feel like it releases a lot of things in ways that you can't express. And the more vibrant the art, the more, you can feel hopes and the dreams of
totally.
people who maybe otherwise going through such a tough time on a day-to-day basis. And I'm always so fascinated because, life is tough in many places. And exactly like you're explaining right now, Haiti's going through a very tough phase. I'm sure it wasn't like that when you were growing up, but I can imagine it being so essential for your day-to-day.
It is.
To kind of, grow up in that environment, and it's almost a contrast, right? Because you're on a daily basis, you have all these troubles that you have to take care of. You have to take care of your family, make a living, but you still take time out to create and to kind of just find this. I don't know, it's a message of hope for yourself, I feel. And I think it's so important. It's amazing that you imbibe that and, you carry that with you, because I'm sure subconsciously it comes out.
Totally. And, and it's not just the art, it's the experience, right? It's the day-to-day living experience and what people out there go through and what I experienced as a child and what I used to see even in the political world, like how that affects me and how it makes you think as a person. I just start to perceive things in life. It changes you, right? And that combined with the creativity, being able to express that visually, I think it's a gift. is something I like appreciate every day. And I remember growing up as a little kid, I used to walk around, I used to see people working in their studios painting stuff. And it's something I always loved to do. And right now I'm a designer. But even back then, I used to like sit in my classroom with my notebook and I would draw logos, like logos of like major companies, like, you know, Calvin Klein, like Reebok, Nike. I would be drawing those in my book. And today I'm a designer doing that. And also I'm practicing being an actual fine artist, which to me is invaluable. Like, all that experience is something I picked up at a very young age. Very early on.
You know, you did mention that you're very attracted to surrealism. It's a favorite theme of yours in your work. Why that? Why that aspect of art?
It's that, to me, it's the mystery in it. What you can do with just a very simple composition in surrealism is unparalleled to me. The amount of message you can communicate in on a piece of work. Like if you look at, you know, everyone talks about Dali and I love his work and everything. Like all the messages that he has in his work. But to me, someone that's very impactful in the surrealist world, that space is Magritte. Like his work is very simple, and a lot of my work I see that way also. It's like very sometimes flat color, flat background, with a couple elements in there, and it's not as as detailed as Dali's, but it communicates so much. There's so much in it to look at, and what I like about surrealism is that your message doesn't have to come through. Like the person will look at it and they'll like make their own story out of it. And I'd prefer to do that. Like put something on the canvas and have someone look at it and have them interpret it, and just have them go down that rabbit hole of whatever that thing could mean for them. Right? That's what to me. That's what I like about it.
That's very interesting. I mean, I am particularly drawn to that too, and it's endlessly fascinating to me because it's like a story within a story.
Yeah,
you are creating your own story as you view it, as you know, as the audience, or as you're viewing it as a creator. And you know, we have another artist, she's a sculptor actually, and she's also presenting at Art Expo, and it's so amazing because she also named Dali as one of her main sources of inspiration for her work. And I see the impact that, you know, it makes. But with surrealism, I really feel like it's layers within layers, but it comes across deceptively in a very simple way.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which is to me, so I completely understand where you come from, and it's I feel like the simpler the things are, the more complicated it is to make that. So
totally.
It's actually incredible that, you know, that's your chosen theme, and you kind of tend to explore that, and I'm sure it's an endless exploration.
Yeah,
right?
it is.
On and on.
The more I combine this with like abstract and figurative work, and it's because I love the three of them and I can't just do one. And I used to try to do like different types of work. Like I would do them separately. It would take so much time and it would be so time consuming. I would just like it, and it looks kind of crazy because you have all this work that people come and look at in series, and they're like, to me, at least anyway, that concerned me because I don't want people to come and see a variety of work and can see my identity in those works. So I try to combine all three, which to me has been pretty interesting. The past couple of years I've been doing that. But surrealism in itself is like the main theme. Like whether I combine them or not, surrealism is the main theme of the work, and that's what I want to come across. Like that mystery of it, like you were saying, like it's deceptive in some way, but not in a negative way. Just to like you're provoking someone to think differently, to like approach your work differently. To me, and that's what matters. Like at least for me, anyway.
Like it. So, you know, you also work as a graphic designer, and that's a different kind of skill set. How do you kind of layer that into your current style? Because graphic design, you have a brief. It's very clear, you know, you can't really color outside the lines you know, but when you're but then you love surrealism, which is basically you're escaping into another world. So I'm interested in knowing, how do you incorporate the two styles? What from graphic design do you bring into your unique style of art?
What I get from that is not graphic design to me. I bring in the concept of it, the idea and the application of it, not the practicality of it. I mean, like the way you practice graphic design at work like you mentioned, you have that brief, you get people to tell you specifically what they want. I don't bring that in. What I bring in is the idea of it, like the principles of graphic design, layout, compositions, like we mentioned, simplicity, designing with simplicity, making things simple so people can understand. Don't crowd your work with too much stuff. I'm a minimalist, although I love people who do work where there's a lot going on and stuff like that. I appreciate that, but I seem to gravitate more towards things that are simple, and that's why my work, a lot of it will be in like flat background with the subject matter taken out of it, and that's what I take out of it. It's the composition, the way you play with negative space in your work. I love that. So it's the rules of it, the idea, the concept of graphic design. And I would go back to Magritte again. Magritte was in advertising at some point, and you see how all his work was. Like when you look at it, it's very composed. It's composed in a very specific way. The way he crafts his work, the way he positions it on canvas, all that stuff matters. And I think it comes through. Like if you're familiar with the design principles and how designers work, when you look at Magritte's work, you can tell that he was in that space at some point.
So do you think it's important for artists to have a foundation? There's always this debate about, do you go to art school or do you just take off from, a source of inspiration? I know you've studied graphic design, you've been in advertising, so you understand the fundamentals of design, or what would probably teach you in design school.
Yeah.
How important do you feel is that for any artist?
I mean, it sort of depends on the person and what they're trying to do, right? But I do, and I'm a big, I believe, extremely in someone learning the rules before they break them. And I always appreciate, or I would say to someone, even if you don't go to art school and everything, that's all fine. But be into the work enough to go and look into some books, look into some things, like learn some things along the way, to just not be doing things as you go, right? Because there are some, I won't say strict rules, but there are some things you can learn to help improve your work. I've known artists who didn't go to school and they're great at what they do, but I always tell them, I suggest to them that they look into some artists, other artists, read into what they're doing, and learn about what it is you're doing. You could learn to draw, but not to draw figuratively, but to understand the anatomy, right? The anatomy of what you're doing. That's one reason why I like Picasso's work. Picasso started as this very figurative artist, and some of the work I saw from Picasso at his early age, when I first saw them, I'm I couldn't believe he did them. They were very figurative, very done very well and everything, painted as a what do you call it? Forgot the word. A very experienced, which he was anyway, a very experienced figurative artist, beautifully and everything. But then he went down this path where he started to break things apart, and he was able to do that so effectively because he knew how to draw so well. He knew what the anatomy of whatever he was drawing was. There's a painting he did of a cow, and that's my reference to whenever I think about him and of his work, that's what I think about. He took this cow, he drew it perfectly, and he just went down in steps and he started to break it down, and at the end it was just a few lines, which to me was so it was so impactful. He shows you how his mind works in 5 steps. It's amazing. It's
interesting what you said. You learn the rules to break them.
Yeah.
Because I guess you create, you destroy, and then you make something new. That's I think that's very good advice for someone.
It's sort of this weird way of breaking things down, but what you're doing as you're breaking it. You're breaking it down, but in a constructive way, which is really weird. It's sort of a paradox in some way. Or something.
It is exactly. But that's an interesting perspective. Tell us about your presentation for Art Expo. I'm so excited to hear more about it from the creator.
Oh yeah, it's interesting because there's another thing I do sometimes. I'll have visuals in my head, and I'll put it on canvas or paper. Not because I have a certain idea behind it. Sometimes I'll do it and I look at it and I'm all right, then that's what. The same way I was saying to you, I would prefer someone to look at my work and make their own story about it. And I do that with my work as well. Like I'll paint something or draw something with no idea of what I just did, and I put it on the wall. I'm like, okay, that's what that means. And I'm like, it's sort of a way for me to go back into my mind and like see what I'm doing from a third person perspective in a way. So I painted this. It's a sort of a fish bowl that's sort of like breaking apart I think it's one goldfish, but that's reflected throughout. Yeah. So it's not 2, 3, it's one. And so I have that, and I was like, and I've had it for a while. It's just been there, sitting there, and I like it. The idea, and that's where I combine, that style of work is where I combine abstract with surrealism and figurative. So it's all three in there. And that was the purpose of the work, to do that. But the meaning of it, to me, wasn't really there. It's just a visual that I had in my head. So I had it there, and I go to the studio, I look at it. Then I went online and I did research. I was looking at, a fishbowl, and as I did that, I realized there's certain concepts behind a fishbowl which I didn't even know. There's a way that a meeting room could be arranged, that they call it a fishbowl, to get everyone to be involved in it. So they'll put something in the middle, and they're like surrounded with chairs and stuff like that. So like that's one idea of it. But I came onto this blog post this person had written a while ago, and she was talking about how she felt like she was in a fishbowl. Like she would go out and go back in because she felt she was protected in some way. And she was talking about how, she's in there, she's not sure whether she wants to go out into the world, because to venture out, it means that you have to interact with certain people, come across certain things, and she wasn't ready for that. And she keeps talking about leaving the fishbowl, go out there, work or whatever. Then she goes back to the fishbowl, which was sort of representative of her environment, her home. And I'm like, I'm looking at my painting, I'm like, that is exactly what that is, because I'm like, and that's when I called it panic, because it's this fish that's in there now, who's like the fishbowl, that fishbowl is breaking apart, and this fish is in there, is panicking because it doesn't know what happens next. You're just in there, and your world is crumbling around you. That's pretty much what it is.
That's incredible. And I love the title itself. You told me the title, I had seen your work, and then when I heard the title and I looked at it, and of course I interpreted it in my way, but there were certain commonalities between what you're saying and how I interpreted it. But I thought it was phenomenal because it was so impactful. And like you said, it's one fish. That is something new, because when I saw it as multiple fish trying to escape, and this being their world, and they don't know where to go. But it's even more incredible when you're saying it's one fish that's reflected in different angles. That's fantastic. I mean, I cannot wait for.
And that's the idea behind that specific style of working that I'm trying to like put together, and I've been trying to do for a while. It's hard to like, because the way when I started to do it, it was on crumpled paper. I would take a piece of paper, I'd crumple it, I'd open it up, then I would draw on it. And what I like to do is that when I take a subject matter, whether it's that fish or a person or someone's hand, it's sort of like a study of the hand. So you get the hand this way, you get it that way, you get it from multiple angles, like all different angles. And to me, that's what was interesting about it, because you get to see the subject matter instead of an exploded view. You see in all angles of it, and you see it in different sizes. And that's what this fish is. That's why it's one, but it's reflected to multiple pieces of that glass, and that's represented. That's sort of like, in some way, represented that crumpled piece of paper where I would like strike things out. So it's a process, and I have it on my website if anyone is interested in going in and check it out. It's a whole thing I've been working out for a while, where I combine those three styles to make one, and in some way satisfies everything I'm interested in, which is the three styles, right? Surrealism, abstract, and figurative.
Thank you so much, Jesse. This is incredible. I'm so thrilled to be presenting your work, and we have no doubt, there's so much more exciting stuff coming from you. This conversation has just been extremely thrilling for me overall. It's always nice to know the artist's perspective, but I feel like I learned something new when I heard your.
I'm happy.
When you described the painting, and that's why it's important. I feel like for the Let's Curate community to have an insight into your mind, and I thank you so much for joining us today. And I want everyone to know that Art Expo takes place from March 30th to April 2nd in New York City. but the online art gallery will go live by March 1st. We will be posting this webcast on our YouTube and other social media channels soon, so you can view and purchase Jesse's work even if you cannot attend in person. For more updates, follow us on Instagram at @lets_curate. Thank you once again, Jesse, and happy curating, everyone.